Man, NASCAR just does not slow down right now, does it? Every single week, it feels like there's something big happening. And this time, we've actually got two major stories that say a lot about where things stand in the garage right now. One of them is about a driver winning but still walking away frustrated. And the other one takes a really interesting turn with a replacement situation that honestly could matter more than people realize. Both of these stories say a lot about momentum, pressure, and how fast things can change in the sport. So, before we get into both of them, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and join us here on NASCAR Nation Report. This channel is brand new and we're trying to reach our first 10,000 subscribers. So, if you're a real NASCAR fan who lives for this stuff every week, you're in the right place. Denny Hamlin may have won at Las Vegas, but the crazy part is that this was not one of those clean, dominant, everything went perfect kinds of wins. It was messy. It was frustrating. And honestly, that might be what makes it even more impressive. On his Actions Detrimental podcast, Hamlin said he was in disbelief after getting hit with a speeding penalty in the middle of the race. And you can understand why. From his point of view, he felt like he was doing exactly what the team had asked him to do. He said he was shocked by the penalty because if he ran his lights the way the team told him to, then in his mind he should not have been speeding. That is the kind of thing that can completely throw off a race, because once a driver feels like he followed the plan and still gets punished, now the whole rhythm changes. Hamlin admitted that the team clearly miscalculated something. Either the distance between the timing lines or NASCAR scoring in that section of pit road. He also pointed out that if multiple people were speeding in that same area, then that section was probably hotter than they expected it to be. And that right there is what makes this story so interesting. Denny Hamlin did not just win, he had to recover. He had to reset mentally, trust the car again, trust the strategy again, and then drive through the field. He explained that after around 15 laps, he had already picked up about 10 spots. And that is when he started feeling like they still had time and the race was still under control. That moment matters because every NASCAR fan knows there's a huge difference between a driver panicking after a penalty and a veteran realizing the car is strong enough to erase the damage. That is exactly where Hamlin showed why he is still one of the smartest and toughest guys in the Cup Series garage. He did not let that penalty define the race. He stayed patient, kept moving forward, and still found a way to reach the checkered flag first at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And honestly, that says a lot about where he and that number 11 team are right now. When you can make a mistake, lose track position, and still win anyway, that usually means you're a real threat. And the timing of this could not be bigger. Through the first 5 weeks of the season, Denny Hamlin has had an incredible run. And it's not just about his own car. His 2-3 racing team has the top 2 drivers in the standings with Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. And Hamlin himself jumped up to 4th in the standings with that Las Vegas win. The only driver ahead of him outside of the 2-3 pair is Ryan Blaney. That is strong company, and it tells you something important. Hamlin is not just collecting a win. He's building momentum in a season where his organization already looks like one of the strongest groups in the garage. And of course, the biggest competitive implication is obvious. That win locked Denny Hamlin into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs later this year. That changes the pressure level in a huge way. Once you get that playoff spot secured, you can still chase points, still chase seeding, still chase stage wins. But mentally, it gives a driver and team room to breathe. They can be aggressive. They can experiment a little more when needed. They can focus on sharpening up for the long haul. For a veteran like Hamlin, that's dangerous for everybody else. Now, the next test is the Goodyear 400 at Darlington Raceway. And that's where things get really interesting because Darlington is one of those tracks that exposes everything. It exposes mistakes. It exposes tire management. It exposes balance issues, and it absolutely punishes overconfidence. So, after a race where Hamlin had speed, made an error, recovered, and still won, now we get to see whether that form carries over to one of the most iconic and demanding tracks on the schedule. The second story is about Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Junior Motorsports, Roger Cutts, and the number 88 Chevrolet in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. And honestly, this one took a turn that was not exactly shocking, but it still matters. The expectation had been that Alex Bowman would make his first scheduled start in the number 88 this weekend at Darlington Raceway, but that is no longer happening. The reason is Bowman's health situation. He's been out of action since taking himself out of competition during the Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas 3 weekends ago. After that, he was diagnosed with vertigo. At first, his status was being treated as day-to-day, and there was still uncertainty leading into Phoenix Raceway and Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But now the situation is more serious from a scheduling standpoint, because he's officially been ruled out for at least the next month. That means he's missing not just Cup Series races, but also this weekend's O'Reilly Series race at Darlington Raceway. And once Junior Motorsports had to make that call, they had options, since the Cup Series is also racing at Darlington this weekend, and because the limit for full-time Cup Series drivers with at least 3 full seasons of experience was recently increased from 5 starts to 10. JR Motorsports technically had 3 very strong Hendrick Motorsports options sitting right there. William Byron, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson were all available candidates to take over Bowman's spot in the number 88 Chevrolet. In the end, Junior Motorsports went with Kyle Larson, which honestly felt like the most logical move all along. Larson had just won at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, so he comes into Darlington with momentum. He also has real history at this track in this series, winning at Darlington back in 2023. On top of that, he also won the Southern 500 at Darlington that same year. So, if you're a Junior Motorsports and you need someone to jump in on short notice at one of the toughest tracks on the schedule, Larson is about as safe and as dangerous a pick as you can make at the same time. That does not mean William Byron or Chase Elliott would have been weak choices. Not at all. Byron made his first O'Reilly Series start of the season 2 weekends ago at Phoenix Raceway and finished 13th. He has also run well at Darlington before, most recently in the series there in 2024. Elliott also has a very real case, because 2 of his 3 most recent starts in the series came at Darlington, where he finished 4th and 2nd. So this was not a situation where Junior Motorsports had one clear option and nobody else. They had quality across the board. But Larson was still the obvious pick because of current form, confidence, and his Darlington history. The bigger picture here is also important, and this part cannot be overlooked. When Junior Motorsports announced Roger Kuth as the primary driver of the number 88 Chevrolet for the 2026 NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series season, replacing Trackhouse Racing Cup Series rookie Connor Zinn, Kuth was only scheduled for 23 of the 33 races. The other 10 races were split between the 4 Hendrick Motorsports Cup Series drivers. William Byron and Kyle Larson were each scheduled for 3 races, while Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott were each scheduled for 2. At the same time, Kuth also landed a 10-race deal with Jordan Anderson Racing, so he could stay championship eligible with a full-time schedule. That is a huge detail, because it means this whole driver-sharing arrangement is not just about filling a seat. It's part of a much bigger structure around development, opportunity, and keeping Kuth in a position to compete for a championship, while still being the primary face of the number 88 program. So now with Bowman sidelined, the schedule shifts a little, but the plan moving forward still has some structure. After this weekend at Darlington, Roger Kuth is set to return to the number 88 Chevrolet for the next 2 races. Kyle Larson's 2 remaining scheduled starts in that car this season are Bristol Motor Speedway in April and Texas Motor Speedway in May. Byron's remaining starts are set for Kansas Speedway in April and Pocono Raceway in June. Chase Elliott is not scheduled to race in the series until July, when he is lined up for Chicagoland Speedway and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As for Alex Bowman, he is tentatively scheduled to return in the series at Nashville Superspeedway in late May. But right now, that is still uncertain, because everything depends on his health. And honestly, that is the biggest human side of this story. We can talk all day about schedules, substitutions, and strategy, but vertigo is serious. When a driver is dealing with balance and dizziness issues, that is not something you play around with, especially in NASCAR. So, more than anything, fans just want Bowman healthy and fully right before he gets back in a race car. From a competition standpoint though, this replacement decision could still have a real effect. Kyle Larson in a Junior Motorsports number 88 Chevrolet at Darlington is absolutely a headline move. It gives that team a legitimate shot at a huge result this weekend, and it adds even more attention to a series lineup that was already interesting because of Roger Kuth's role, Connor Zillish's replacement, and the Hendrick Motorsports rotation. It also says something about how teams handle uncertainty. When things change, the strongest organizations usually do not panic. They go straight to the best available answer. That is exactly what Junior Motorsports did here. And as a fan, I have to say both of these stories connect in a really interesting way. On one side, you have Denny Hamlin showing how dangerous a veteran can be when even a penalty cannot stop him. On the other side, you have Kyle Larson stepping into a changing situation and immediately becoming a major factor because the talent level is just that high. These are the kinds of stories that remind you how deep NASCAR is right now. It's not just about who won last Sunday or who is driving this weekend. It's about momentum, adaptability, experience, and who is ready when the pressure hits. That's why these two stories matter so much right now. Denny Hamlin's win at Las Vegas was bigger than just a trophy, because it proved he and his team can survive mistakes and still beat the field. While Kyle Larson getting the call at Darlington shows how quickly lineups can shift and how stacked the top organizations still are. And when you add in Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, Roger Coos, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Connor Zilish Jr. Motorsports, Hendrick Motorsports, Jordan Anderson Racing, Darlington Raceway, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Phoenix Raceway, Bristol Motor Speedway, Texas Motor Speedway, Kansas Speedway, Pocono Raceway, Chicagoland Speedway, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Nashville Super Speedway, and COTA, you can really feel how many moving pieces are shaping this season already. As NASCAR fans, that's exactly why we keep showing up every week. There's always another twist, always another comeback, always another decision that ends up mattering more than people think. And heading into Darlington, the pressure, the storylines, and the emotion are all right there. So, if you enjoyed this, and you love real NASCAR talk, from people who genuinely care about the sport, hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to NASCAR Nation Report. This channel is new. We're chasing our first 10,000 subscribers. And if you're the kind of NASCAR fan who likes honest reactions and real conversation every week, this is the place, Tobe.